Well, good morning, everybody. Your man Omid here with you again on a Monday, trying to make sense of this marketplace. Lots and lots has happened, and I've gotten more phone calls than I care to talk about with regards to what's going on with this market and why is it that we're not seeing better rates. So, as a matter of fact, why are we seeing worse rates? So let's dive into that. Let me kind of slice it and dice it for you, and then give you some tools that you can use to still continue to succeed regardless of what's happening out here. Okay. All right. So this week's marketplace, the arrow here shows where the Fed funds rate was lowered. If you watch this with any regularity, you will remember me telling you don't throw a ticker tape parade yet because there's usually a bounce for the worse after these things, which is exactly kind of what happened. I had not expected the bounce for the worst to be at these levels. I mean, we've had kind of a free fall here for the last little while. Unfortunately, we've broken through levels of support, which basically help us gauge what's happening and what the traders are going to do. So this is the resistance level two that we broke to, one that we broke through, and now we're kind of heading down to this 100.00 resistance level. So hopefully this will hold us, or else it's all the way down to here. And every time this goes down, the money shrinks in the bond market and rates go up. So speaking of rates, just like that, it was 6.21 last week. It's all the way up to 6.62 this week. So this is why it's so important. You real estate agents, my builders on the call here, you have to line yourself up with somebody who understands this market at this level and who's able to give you a heads up and make sure that we're running the promotions and the listings and everything else at the right time. For my buyers on this call, you're all protected anyway. Any of you who locked with me last week and the week before, you know my reasoning and the suggestions that we've made. And luckily, our book of business was completely and totally protected from this kind of madness. Now, let's go back and talk about why this is happening. So, what's on the books for this week? Lots and lots of stuff. The minutes from the Fed meeting comes out on Wednesday. This is where all of us nerds sit down and read through the lines and have some reactions about every single word it is that he said and what it means. CPI, Consumer Price Index, will come out on Thursday. So does the initial jobless claims. And then on Friday, Producers Price Index measuring inflation at a wholesale level will come out on Friday. Here's what I'm expecting, and let's see if we hit it or not. So the CPI headline number, the overall number year over year, should go from 2.5 to 2.3. That's good news. But the core, where we take out food and energy, that's going to go up, we think, from 0.2% to 0.27%. And that's on a month to month. Shelter costs has a lot to do with that, rents, etc. But I really do think at the end of the day, it is this corporate greed that's out there where the stores and producers are charging more in order to bolster their stock price, and we're all paying for it. So that keep an eye on that. The core does drop down to 3.1 on a year over year, so we're better off here on the core, but it doesn't seem like we're getting any immediate relief. Now, why did all of that happen on the right hand side, that huge fall that we're seeing here? Well, that has a lot to do with, you guessed it, the BLS jobs report. If you guys are following us on Instagram, you got the notice on Friday with a little bit of a short detail about this. But so the market was estimating and wanting to receive somewhere around 140,000 equivalents of new jobs created. This thing comes out again with $254,000 or 254,000 jobs. Mind blown. And what's amazing is that the 2 month revisions, for the very first time, and as long as I can personally remember, they did the revisions to the upside. So they actually added jobs, which is certainly a makes you things that makes you go home, right? And so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Leisure and hospitality picked up a lot of jobs here at the end of September for the September reading. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me as well, because you would think that would happen prior to summer. I don't understand how that works, but okay, we'll take it. But here's the thing that's really interesting. On the household survey, when they pick up the phone, they call people and they say, "Did you find a job or not?" They're saying that 430,000 jobs were created. Now, that's a really big difference between those two surveys. One is from a birth death model, and the other one is from the phone call. So, that in and of itself, again, another head scratcher. But this is the biggest one. 231,000 jobs were made up of from 16 to 19 year olds. So all the 16 and 17-year olds are probably back in school from the summer jobs, right? So you would expect a pretty big decline there. And then what? There was 231,000 equivalents of full-time positions filled by 18 and 19-year olds who ended up not going back to school but entering the labor force, and they found jobs like that. Again, there's a lot of stuff on these reports that I don't agree with, some things that doesn't smell right, and I feel like this is just the BLS doing what the BLS does. This is the reason why you're seeing the decline in bonds and the increase in rates, and why we're not getting any kind of a pop from that Fed funds reduction. Now, I will tell you this: that Fed funds reduction has absolutely brought people out of the woodwork. There's a lot of now reasons for buyers to be out there, and we are seeing a lot more activity than we were even 30 days ago. So take that for what you will. Speaking of activity, I shared this with you last week. We have no less than four different of our real estate broker community friends that have reached out to us asking us to create these pieces specifically for their buyer and their zip code and their listing and whatever that is, all for being able to explain why buy now versus wait 2 years, and then what it looks like as far as appreciation goes. Because right now the stock market's as hot as it is. A lot of folks are comparing this as an investment to the stock market. Again, this is not an investment. It's where you live. You can't live inside your stock, but there you have it. And this one is absolutely worth repeating. Lots of phone calls on this one from last week. So with the new increased conforming loan limits of 802,650, now you can buy a house up to $827,000 with only 3% down. That's 24 grand out of your pocket, 25 grand out of your pocket, right? So if you have a salary, now I'm talking specifically for buyers that you may have, or if you're a buyer, if you have a salary of 153K per year and you have no other debt, you're golden. You can qualify for this. Give me a call. And here's the biggest kicker about this. At only a 5% annual appreciation, where King County has had that for the last 63 years, it's been 5.56%. But only at a 5% appreciation, you're going to make $41,000 on your $827,000 purchase in that first year. How much did you put in? 24 grand. What do you make? 40. That's 170% return on investment. So you guys, real estate is still king, still gives you shelter, it's still a good time to buy, it's still a good reason to buy. And at the end of the day, you have to live somewhere, you got to pay your landlord's rent anyway. You might as well make this money yourself. Okay? Hope this was helpful. As always, I'm just a phone call away. If you need anything, chat with you soon.